everybody. This is Maximo, and we are live at VodPod Media, and I can't wait to introduce you to Miss Keli Rosa.
Gracias. Hi, my name is Keli Rosa. I'm super honored to be here. There is a great podcast planned for today. I'm going to open up with a little bit of son jarocho. This is resistance music that has survived 500 years of colonization. It is the mixture of indigenous Mexican music, the Spanish music that the colonizers brought with them, and the music of the enslaved Africans that the colonizers brought with them to Mexico. This first one I'm going to play is called El Siki Siri, and this is the song that they traditionally open up any kind of community celebration or event, so I thought it worked out really well.
And we are live. Welcome to the show, everyone. The Maximo Show here at VodPod Media Studios. We are live, as always, taking over your Tuesday night. If you're following us right now, like, comment, share. And we're live, so we're gonna shut phones down. We're gonna have some fun, and we're glad, super excited you got to join us tonight and see Keli Rosa kick us off tonight. What a phenomenal performer. She is renowned all across San Antonio. She's went to Germany a few weeks ago, but was able to perform over there. Just a phenomenal artist here in San Antonio. We've got so many talented people that we've had in the studio, that we're bringing in the studio. So if you're watching us, we appreciate your support. We appreciate all of the love that we're getting over the internet. And we have a phenomenal show tonight of power women. And I'm glad Keli was able to start it off too, because she's in that discussion. We're going to have her back at the table, but I can't wait to introduce you to our esteemed panel. And we've got to say hello to everyone. Thank you all for being here. We've got Dr. Carmen Tafallo, a living legend, dare I say?
You can, but
I think I can say that, right? If
You
you've
can
heard of
say
her,
it.
Google her. If you don't know, Carmen Tafallo, we appreciate you so much for being here. She's got some props and gifts and things, and she's going to share some of those items here in just a moment. But thank you for being here tonight. Everyone is so very busy. As you know, we are honoring and celebrating Heritage Month. We live heritage 24/7, 365, but we are here putting it under the microscope for everyone to see. We're bringing it to you. So if you've got questions, comments, go ahead and drop it in the comment section. We want to hear from you all wherever you may be watching. We've got fans and viewers from all over the country, across the seas, and even some of those who need resources like those that we have. If you need legal advice, you better call Ofelia Delgado here, Esquire, practicing attorney. Thank you for being here tonight, Ofelia, a new mom as well.
Yes.
So we got to give you a shout out for being here. How are you enjoying motherhood?
I am loving motherhood. I am exhausted, but I am loving it. Yes.
There'd be no other way.
No, she's a blessing, and it would be no other way.
Good. So we're going to talk about all of those things and a little bit more, and we're going to get to into a bunch of everything. But we've also got to shout out Destiny Hernandez. Destiny, thank you so much for being here. She wears many different hats like us all. We'll allow her to get a little bit more into herself and maybe some things you want to share about yourself. But thank you so much. That dress is as fire as you are, girl. So thank you for being here with us tonight, and thank you for sharing some of your light. What do you got to say for us tonight, girl? Go ahead.
Just thank you for being here, Carmen and Ofelia. It's been nice meeting you, as well as witnessing Keli performing. And thank you for having us on the show and having a space for women to be in and empowering us.
Yeah, I'm going to take a step back. And so it's funny because sometimes our viewers were like, we have a show and then our viewers say, man, I wish Maximo would have talked more. And on that same show, someone else will say, man, I wish Maximo would have talked less. And I'm like, oh my God, all right. So I got to take a cue somewhere right in the middle. But let's start with you, Dr. Carmen Tafallo. I love saying your name. It's got a ring to it. And you look fabulous tonight, by the way.
Thank you.
You've brought a series of books and props. I want to start with the one on the far left. Can you point this out and tell us what this is?
This is a wooden paddle. On one side it says Board of Education. And it was used in the schools of San Antonio, as well as in cities throughout the U.S., in areas where the school system felt that it would be educational for children to never speak Spanish again. Now, if you can figure out how that works, I mean, it doesn't make any kind of logical sense that to add information to a person or to develop a skill would be considered a deficit. But because of the prejudice of the time period and the racism against everything Mexican, everything, and I say Mexican very specifically, we weren't Hispanic yet, the government hadn't invented that term, and Latin was a euphemism that people used because they didn't want to use the dirty word Mexican. So if they were nice to somebody, they'd say, oh, he's Latin American. And say, he's not from Latin America, he's from Mexico, he's Mexican. And they'd say, no, he's Latin American. And that was the nice term. Mm-hmm. So in those days, the term Mexican was considered dirty. Mexican schools, like the one that I attended, that was like 99.9% Mexican American, and all of the teachers, except maybe one per school, were not Mexican American. Wow. There was a huge divide, and the state of Texas had been convinced in 1917 that it would be better if we didn't have all these foreign languages being spoken by kids everywhere. World War I had started, And the fear was that all these German communities were teaching their kids German and they would root for the other side. So they put a law through the state law code on schools that said that anyone, that it was illegal for anyone to speak a foreign language on school grounds unless they were specifically inside a foreign language classroom. And of course, our poor schools, they didn't even have money for a kindergarten. They certainly didn't have foreign language classrooms. We didn't get foreign language classrooms till usually 7th grade or above. And anybody who spoke any word of Spanish, because it started with foreign languages and then they quit worrying about German or anything else, they just focused on Spanish, was punished most of the time with a paddle. And this is the real
That's
thing.
hard wood
this
right
is
there.
wood, and it's got holes drilled through it so that it'll fly faster,
Extra.
hit harder, make marks. And people went home bleeding. They went home crying. They went home embarrassed. It didn't matter if you were 6 years old or you were 18 years old. If someone thought, a teacher thought they heard you speaking Spanish, it was one swat, which was one hit with this wooden paddle, for every word in Spanish. And this was judged by somebody who didn't even speak Spanish.
Yeah.
So if you said, "Córrele, Juanito," which is really one word and one name, that would say, sounds like 10 words to me. If you pronounced your name correctly, you know, someone came up to you and say, "What's your name?" And you say, "Oh, Guadalupe Maria Socorro de Valdez." And they would, teachers would come up and say, "You're in trouble. You're speaking Spanish."
Yeah.
And so this was the context that I grew up in. We were frisked going in and out of the cafeteria because the image was that Mexicans carried switchblades and we were evil and we broke the law. And so I wanted people to remember, for those who say the Chicano movement didn't do anything or we haven't made any progress, we've made progress.
Yeah.
And this is
That's
part of it. This is no longer happening. Nobody's being hit by paddles, and we're certainly not being hit by paddles for speaking Spanish. So that's a little reminder of how far we've come. I know I'm a dinosaur, and you know I'm 71 years old. So it was in effect from the year my mother was born until the year I graduated from high school in 1969.
wow.
So
And yet, mind you, English is a foreign language itself.
yes,
It is.
of course. And Spanish was being spoken here way before English was being spoken. So it's just a little reminder of the progress we've made. That doesn't mean all the problems are fixed. I wish they were.
Correct.
But we have the power to change things. And a large reason that the paddling and the punishment and the law were stopped was because children, students protested
Yeah.
in the 1960s.
Yeah.
Walked out of school and said, "We're not going to put up with this anymore. We're tired of being denigrated. We're tired of being punished or told that Spanish is a dirty language." You know.
Yeah, and that's vicious, this whole thing. This is a reminder. I mean, you know, look at that thing. That thing looks like it's been through a lot. And so a lot of wax.
If somebody breaks into my house, this is what I'm going to use on.
Yeah, and you're going to do some
And they
damage.
deserve it, right, for breaking into your home.
But you know, and that's vicious. We've talked about, you know, we've had some fun conversations before the cameras came on. We've talked about, you know, being parents. And, you know, Ofelia, you've got a little baby at home. Imagine your child is getting hit from the teacher at the school. Now, we know things have changed. It's inspiring to hear you talk about that change, but know that we still got a long ways to go because there's discrimination that's happening out there right now that's just as bad.
Yeah, that's right.
And, you know, for you, Ofelia, I know you from a lot of different areas, a lot of different tables. I hate to describe you as just an attorney, but an attorney is someone who is powerful, someone who has taken, you know, your career by the horns, right, and said, I'm going to go do this, right? We talk about the amount of women and women of color that are practicing attorneys throughout this country. You're in a minority,
Definitely.
right? I
Yes.
mean, can you give us some talk on that?
Well, definitely, right? Thank you, Carmen, for that history. It reminded me of my undergraduate education at UW, taking Chicano Studies, and hearing stories from my family. On my mom's side, ella de Mexico, so she never experienced what you're saying, right? Because she was born and raised there. She married my father, came over, and but I know from, you know, my fiance's mother and other family members that went through what exactly you're talking about. and that they actually had children peeing in their pants, right? Because they couldn't speak English and they couldn't speak Spanish or else get punished. So I can't imagine not only the physical harm that it has done to our community, but the psychological harm it's done as well. And so Maximo, you talk about my daughter, right? I consciously make sure that she sees cartoons that look of little girls that look like her with black hair and black eyes, and we speak to her in Spanish, bilingual. Spanish was my first language. My mother is in Mexico. My father's a Tejano, really from Saginaw, Michigan, farm worker family who settled in San Antonio, West Side, all the way, right?
Michigan,
Since he
I'm
was a
telling
kid. So I have both las dos culturas, and I was raised to be very proud, listening to conjunto, Tejano music, Vicente Hernandez, Javier Solís, I mean, everything, right? Las novelas. So I think I am part of that movement as well. I consider myself a Chicana. And I think that empowered me a lot in my undergrad when I was in Movimiento Estudiantil Chicano de Aztlán Mecha. And that molded me at 18 years old. I remember I felt like this light upon me, like, oh, like, oh my God, what happened? What's going on? Why don't we know about this? It was incredible. And I want to carry that on to my child, right? I am a Mexicana, a Chicana, I'm Indígena, really. And so, exactly, I took the bull by its horns. I'm first generation. My mom always wanted me to get an education. She didn't know how she was going to pay for it or how I was going to get there, but she instilled in me very young. And so that has helped me a lot. And yes, I'm the kind of person, because of my mother, no tenga miedo, see? Just try it. It's going to hurt you more if you don't ask, if you don't try. And el que no habla, no lo escuchan. She didn't even have to tell me that directly, but they're siendo las tamaladas o hay fiestas y hay unas mujeres hablando. Y escuchas qué fuertes son, ¿no? Que no les da miedo, y si les da miedo lo van a hacer, aunque no salga bien al último, pero lo intentaron. So I grew up around that power and not being afraid. And I think that's part of why I've been able to do what I do, right? And it's not by myself. I mean, I have great leaders that have pushed me when I was afraid, right? That have challenged me when I just wanted to stay in my corner and feel comfortable. It's like, nope, go do what you need to do. And I think that's important as mujeres, that if they don't come to us, we go to them.
And that's listen, y'all might get me emotional in here talking about mamas and kids and daughters, because I mean, that hits real. I had Judge Cruz Shaw on the podcast one time, and him and I were talking about our moms, and he was like, my mom was 5 foot tall and I'm still scared of her as an adult. And I'm like, man, I am too. My mom's 4'11" and I'm scared of her, man. I don't mess around with my mama. So shout out to all the mamas out there doing that work, because it's hard work to be a mom, in today's day and age, balancing a career, right? Having ambitions and goals and traveling and having spouses, partners. Destiny, I know you to be close with your mom as well. Now, we've been touching on a lot of different things. We're kind of just throwing some topics out there. I got maybe some questions and some topics I'm going to throw out. But one of the things Ofelia touched on was identity, being from her parents from Mexico, being Chicana, how we identify. She mentioned indigenous, right? Now, when I got to know you, you mentioned that if it wasn't for your grandfather, you would probably say you were Mexican. But you don't claim you're Mexican now, do you?
No.
What do you claim?
Coahui Tejana.
So okay. So tell us, to break that down for our viewers and what that means, and how that identity was helped shape who you are.
Well, I think our history it overlaps so much, right? Because Mexico was a part of what we now know as Texas. And so before colonization, pre-1492, we had people indigenous to Mexico. And then the Spaniards came. And then that's when people started identifying as Mexican. And during that time, it was better to identify as a Mexican than it was to identify as an Indian, because Indians were savages, We were known to eat dirt and not be sophisticated people at all, which was very false. I mean, we had our own language. Pahalat is the native tongue of Coahuiltecans. And that language was spoken here first. So, and we're actually, you know, we're very involved in revitalizing that language because it's important. It's important. And I identify as Goawi Tejana because I think it's important to lift that up. I think it's very important. I think that some people struggle with that identity of admitting, you know, that they are indigenous because of the internal racism, right? Because of what has happened over the years and the genocide and the erasure and taking away our language, taking away our culture, our dances, our songs, our prayers. And now we have it back. And so that's it. We're here. We're not going anywhere. Aquí estamos y no nos vamos.
Yeah. So we got to give a shout out to Mama Yvette as well. Everybody that's in Florida, if you're watching, you know, we hope you're doing okay and safe. We know the you know, with climate change, and some people think if you're watching this, climate change is a hoax. You think this is fake news, and I'm talking right now. Look, there's a serious hurricane hit Florida.
Yeah.
A lot of the communities have been devastated. So shout out to Yvette, anybody watching this, wherever you may be. Hope you're doing well. We got some comments ringing in here. Santos Pachanga Gutierrez, what's up, Santos? Says, yes, Saginaw, Michigan, my hometown as well. Now here in San Antonio. What's up? We've got Kirsten Thompson chiming in. Carmen Tafallo is an icon. Love her. And so we've got folks chiming in and watching. Thank you so much for sticking with us thus far. But we're going to go back because we've talked about, you know, aging and growing up and our parents. You've got a photo over here, Carmen.
Yes.
Do you want to share that with us? What is this?
Sure. This is just a picture that went on the back cover of my first book in 1976. And Cesar Martinez was the photographer. I didn't know he was an artist at that time. We thought he was a photographer. He was a good friend of Cecilio's. And Cecilio Garcia Camarillo, Reyes Cardenas, and myself were going to put out a book. And it was our dedication to the bicentennial, which was a big deal at that time. And we said, excuse me, but we've been here a little longer than 200 years. So we called the book, Get Your Tortillas Together. And the three of us were in front of a tortilleria on the west side of San Antonio, just a few blocks from where Cecilio had been doing the Caracol magazine. You know, I think that time period was when I first realized how deeply Eurocentrism had infected our society. It's beyond just racism, which is bad enough, or sexism, which is bad enough,
yes.
Classism, the castes, and whether you were lighter skinned or darker skinned, and that put you higher up or lower down. You had more Spanish blood, you were considered, oh, wonderful, and too much Indian, es puro indio. People would take it as a cut. Eurocentrism pervades so many of our history books and our children's books and our TV shows to this day. And it really bothers me. But I became aware of it during the Chicano movement in the 70s. We had always heard very positive things at home about our indigenous background. We had heard, you know, a counter to the racism. And that's what saved me, I think, was that we were being taught at home with the abuelos and the tias and the tios and the parents who said, no, you're going to do this. Or my father who said, tienes que aprender a leer en español so that you can read the Bible in the language God wrote it in, you know. So we had an appreciation at home that was counter of everything we were hearing at school. But still, the awareness of how the stories were told differently and are still being told. For a long while, whenever I would try and talk about the history of San Antonio, or just try going on the barges downtown on the Riverwalk and listen to the crazy stuff that these guides are saying about, on the left you see the Marriott, on the right you see the Hyatt, and say, can you say a little bit about the history of this place? Oh yes, in 1968 the Hilton Palacio, and you're like, 68? You think that's as far as we go back? And so you go a little deeper, and the Texas history books still to this day put a tremendous amount of emphasis on the 1820s when the Anglo-Americans arrived. And they said, and they would even say things like, the first baby born in Texas was so-and-so,
Wow.
so-and-so. And you're like, oh, and all those little crying creatures before then, what were they if they weren't babies? So we pushed them, we pushed the history, the awareness, especially places like San Antonio,
Yes.
that have always had a good mix of people and more non-white people than white people. We pushed them to go all the way back and to recognize that there were people here before the English speakers came. So then the city gets all excited about 300 years. And I'm like, not 300 years. Our people have been here for much longer than 300 years. 300 years is when the Spanish-speaking members of the family settled down here. So, I even get, this was just a few years back that I got asked to write a 300-year birthday poem to San Antonio. And I said, yes, I will write a 12,300th birthday poem to San Antonio.
Wow, look at you.
And I did.
Nice.
But we fail. The subtlety of the language in the textbooks is so pervasively European dominant. Things don't start till the Europeans get there. Civilization doesn't start till the Europeans get there.
Yeah,
And that denies most of our history.
absolutely.
We have incredible, deep history in this area of Native peoples.
Yes, we do. Thank you for speaking on that. Hey, she came in hot tonight, and that's what we're talking about, though, because I get, I've asked all y'all to come in here because I really felt from knowing y'all, from hearing y'all, from being around y'all, deeply purpose-driven people. You all are deeply purpose-driven, living out your passion. As they say, we are our ancestors' wildest dreams. How do you think we've aligned with that? I mean, let's think about that, right? Like, did you have a purpose, right? When you were born, did you know that you were going to be in this position? Because y'all are wildly successful too, right? I mean, by all terms, but from every stretch. So I would just imagine that y'all are living it out, right? You're writing the story. You're changing people's lives. You're changing the trajectory of your family's lives. I mean, do you feel like you're hitting on all those notes? I mean, do you wake up every day like, yes, I get to do this again?
Yes. I deeply, deeply enjoy doing what I do, especially with my immigrant clients, right? With my population, my gente. It drives me to do better. It drives me to be a good attorney. It drives me to be a better person. Now, I think about all the factors that affected me, Maximo, and will still affect me and teach me as I grow, because I'm a young baby, really, at this. And I have been blessed that at 18, I was exposed to so much that the majority of us are not. Right, that we don't get that education. We don't learn about how Eurocentric our books are and our history is, and how we've been erased, and how we have to give ourselves our voice. We're the people we're looking for.
Yeah.
Right, we are the people that we're looking for, and that's a hard responsibility to take on. And it doesn't all have to be done at once. It can be parceled out, and we can do it all together, not just one person. And so. For me, it was my family that I grew up in, seeing the injustice. My mother is a working mom, who raised us most of the time single. So I saw her suffer. She's a survivor of domestic violence, and I grew up seeing that, Maximo. So I grew up knowing that I did not want to live like that, even at a very young age. I kind of understood, I don't want that. This is not my life. And people ask me, when did you know you wanted to be an attorney? Well, going to Mexico and hearing my family talk about how scared they were of the immigration, frontera, and hearing about the U.S. and how racism exists and things like that, and how I would see the stark difference in working in the hotel industry with my mother, and how people out that were being served were living it up. And you go in the back, and all the Mexicanos that are working for temp agencies don't get any benefits or not getting paid well, but they're there. And completely different, can't pay their water bills, are struggling to put their kids through school. So all of that really shaped, I guess, for me, my passion for immigration. I do other sorts of law, but that's my passion. And I don't know, it's just, like you're saying, every day to get up and go. It's hard sometimes.
It is hard.
It is hard, to run my own business, to raise my child, to have a relationship with my awesome partner, right? To want to build a good future for her, and to build upon what I've learned, right? I don't want it to end with me. And I have broken a lot of barriers. I'm the first in my family to go to college. I'm the first attorney in in my family. My brother passed away of drug addiction, my older brother. You know, he suffered a lot, and he took something to the grave I will never know, and all the hurt and trauma that our communities have gone through for generations on end. And I'm a living testament, you know, to Manuel. His life was given for something, because I feel like if I would have been born when he was born 4 years earlier, then I would have probably been the one in the grave. Who knows? There's all these things that have affected my life, you know, the drugs of my brother, you know, the divorce, the violence, and knowing that I broke cycles, and I'm not going to repeat that. And I want my daughter and my brothers and my loved ones to live better. I want our community to live better. I want them to know. I mean, right now we're banning books again. You know, come on, you know, and I thought to myself, and I would ask at 18, why isn't this being taught? I mean, I was inquisitive. ¿Por qué no se enseña esto? Well, imagine if you had a whole mess of us knowing our history, knowing the oppression, knowing our power.
Yeah.
You know, in Texas alone, in San Antonio alone, imagínate, we're strong in number, but are we strong mentally?
Right.
Yeah,
To
girl.
where we're so powerful that I know my history, I know what's happened,
Exactly.
and it's not going to happen again.
And we
Exactly.
need to understand the big picture around it. It's not by accident that these books are being
No.
banned.
Yes.
It is because we are increasing in power, and someone is
Yeah.
trying to take that away. And the example I use, when you say banned books, I got banned in 2012, the same year that I was laureled in San Antonio. So I was banned, Boyd, and laureled all in the same
Oh
year.
my
I was
gosh.
banned by the state of Arizona. My book was being used as part of Mexican American Studies. It had been used in their outstanding, exemplary Mexican American Studies program for
they banned
years. For years. And their Mexican American Studies program was one of the few in the nation. It was from kindergarten through 12th grade. The kids were doing so well that they had something like a 95% graduation rate and an 85% enrollment in college from their senior class. And when that started happening, that's when the school boards put the brakes on and said, wait a minute. We can't have this. This isn't right. These are just too many Mexicans for us to handle. And so they banned the entire Mexican American Studies program. The kids were crying. They walked in the classrooms, pulled the books off the shelves. They said, "Oh, we didn't throw them away. We took them to the book graveyard." You know, so it's like, okay.
It's like burning the codices again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that it's a big picture. The banning isn't just happening by accident. It is a very purposeful thing.
Yes.
And sometimes people who want those goals of keeping the status quo, keeping us as their cheap labor force,
Yeah.
they instigate others who might really believe that what they're doing is, you know,
Yes.
for a good reason.
And as they say, history repeats itself
Yes.
if we let it.
If
And
we
so I
let it.
find people like y'all disrupting cycles. And I didn't want this. I don't want any of our shows, anything that when we talk about Heritage Month, whether it's, you know, Chicana, Hispanic, Latin, whatever we talk about, I don't like our heritage celebrations to be about our trauma. I really don't, you know, but it's unfortunate that so many of our people have been through so much. And as they say, hurt people hurt people. And we have a lot of our own who make choices for better or for worse, and it ends up hurting our own. And it's not something that we're proud of. But, you know, one of the reasons we do this show, one of the reasons I'm out here and as a voice, I don't believe I'm a champion by any means, but I'm going to continue to do this because we have goals, we have things that we need to communicate and put out there in this space, is that I see the beauty of our people every time we step outside. You can go to the corner store and you see some kids and thinking, man, these are our hope right here. These are our inspiration. And one of the things that I love about our people is how divinely spiritual we are. And we come from a deeply spiritual, you know, set of people who believe in things and power and energy. You know, Destiny, before we came in, I asked you to bring some what?
Sage.
Bring some sage, because some people came in and had some rough days,
Yeah.
right? And our people are into blessing others, into helping others, into uplifting. We have healers and scholars of the sun, moon, and stars, and people who understood mathematics like no other. And that is what has been stolen from us, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so I know you to be a deeply spiritual person. Where does that come from?
Woo.
You got 4 minutes, by the way.
Well, you know, as they say, we're standing on the shoulders of giants. You know, I believe it comes from my ancestors because I mean, I feel them. I feel them when I'm praying. I feel their presence in the room all the time. They come to me in dreams. And it's been something that my entire family really is spiritual, all of them. And even when I was little, I used to not know what the heck was going on, like going to these ceremonies. I remember my grandfather took me to my baptism at Mission San Juan Capistrano, and there were people drumming and singing, and I had no idea what he was taking me to. And I was just like, what the heck is going on over here? And now, being 32 years old, I look back at that day and I am so grateful that he did that. Yes. I didn't know what was happening at the time, but I'm grateful because I heard the drum, I heard those songs. It was instilled in me at a very young age, and it brought me back. I may have left for some time because I did live in Florida and I was a little bit disconnected, got lost, and, again, there goes the trauma. But you can use your trauma and turn it into alchemy, which is something that you've done. I can hear in your story, you turned it into something beautiful, and that's what alchemy is. And so I think that we all have the power to do that. We just have to find it inside.
Thank you for saying that, because I always think when I'm writing that I'm hearing voices of my ancestors whispering over my shoulder. Sometimes some viejita saying, díselo, ponlo, que no tengas miedo, diles todo, and I love that sense.
Yes.
It connects us. If we weren't deeply spiritual people, we wouldn't have survived.
Yes.
The stuff that we have been put through. And I think that's why we're a kinder population. And you can talk to people that come to San Antonio from all over the world, and they say, y'all are so friendly here. I say, well, we still have our indigenous values, the values of the native people of this area, who were, by the way, not jumping up and down wanting to be called Mexican, because Mexico was a nation and that was fine, but it was far, it was the headquarters was down in Mexico City, and we were far, far away from that. But after the Republic of Texas broke away from Mexico, the second year, 1 year after they broke away, they passed a law that all Indians in the state of Texas west of the Guadalupe River were from henceforth to be considered a part of the Mexican people. It just made racism easier. It simplified things, and at the same time, it disowned Native peoples from any claim to the land. Nobody was here. We were the first ones to get here. You guys are all foreigners. And then because the border crossed us and we became no longer Mexico, then Mexicans were also told, go back to where you came from. Well, I came from here. You want me to cross the street or what?
And so listen, y'all are speaking on so many beautiful items. We're going to break in just a few seconds to get it back to Keli. Keli's got another special performance, but I want to tell anybody that if you're watching this and you're looking for a sign, you're looking for advice, listen, people like me, people like our children, people like our brothers, they needed to hear this. And we've relied on our tias and our sisters and our abuelas and our great abuelas and stuff for that advice, or to lift us up or to help us out. I still think about my tias slipping me a $5 bill, on the weekends to go to the corner store, right? To give me, so I could go get a snack or something, right? And they've always been there. Family is so important, and that's what I feel right now. So thank you so much for watching. We've got Janie Alonso commented in, says, hi, Ofelia, la mera mera. And we're kicking it over back to Keli right now, folks. So stay tuned. Don't move.
This next song that I'm going to play is called La Morena, and I want to dedicate this song to all of the beautiful morenas out there, nuestras abuelas, mamás. They were just talking about, our mothers, our female ancestors. And so this song talks about morenas. I hope you all enjoy. Ganas de llorar.
Ooh wee, my goodness. Keli Rosa, thank you so much. What a fire performance. Tonight is fire. If you're sharing this stream, you better put those little fire emojis on there because we got a great show tonight. And so thank you so much for being with us. Again, comment, like, share, send the rebroadcast to someone who needs to hear this because we're dropping some knowledge in here. We just bring good people to the table to share and to uplift, positive, inspiring, powerful women. Right. And we kind of joked a little bit about La Mera Mera because somebody said in the comments, hey, hi, Ofelia, La Mera Mera. And you mentioned you're doing like these promotional videos to talk about your work and your business and your office. Tell us a little bit more about that and, kind of your inspiration there.
Yeah. So, knowing that we want to expand out to our community as much as we can, thinking about what kind of branding I want for myself, my personality, where I'm from, to be true to myself. We were sitting around and I said, how about La Mera Mera? And they're like, oh yeah, that's really, really cool, So I said, okay, well, let's do this. I hired a guy. It's been a couple of years running already. And so we did these commercials. One just came out, Maximo. I know that you saw it on my Facebook feed, and we're going to try to get it out into the TV. And so La Mera Mera just springs from, it means the one you can trust, right? The one that knows it all, for example, not in a bad way, but the one that
that gets it done.
That gets it done, exactly. And I consider myself a person that gets it done. If I don't know how to do it, I will ask around. I will consult in order to get there. My personality is that there's more than one way to skin a cat. Right. So, and I've had this all my life. If someone has told me no, I'm like, no me gusta. Go around the other way. Right. And then I'll figure it out. And where other people have said, oh my God, I would have stopped at, 2-3 times. That's just not who I am. One, because I want to win for my clients. I want them to have the person that's going to fight for them and is going to be in their corner and that is not going to take their money just to take their money. I want to handle cases where people are going to win something, right? And so be it an immigration, personal injury, or probate, I look out for my client all the time. And I think La Mera Mera, for me, just fits that personality about me. And let's get this done. You come to me, you came to me for a reason. Creator put you in my path. Let's see what we can do.
That's powerful. And like you mentioned, we talked about it, advocating for people, champion people's issues. We need that because in this system, we've already talked about how we've been set up to fail. Yes. Our kids were getting paddled in the 60s and it was okay in the 70s. And now we have further atrocities continuing to happen. So we need people, smart people, to get out there and say, nah, it's not going down like that. And so I trust that you're going to get the job done. And so where can people find? Can they call you? Do you have a Facebook page?
I have a Facebook page. We have Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. I am going to hopefully put out commercials on the Spanish station, the Norteño, soon. And I am at community events now, finally, because, COVID, it's not gone fully, but I am starting to do presentations. I was just out at the church on Sunday giving a presentation on immigration rights and laws, and that's part of what I love to do. So I am doing that as well. So you'll see me out in the community, out at different events. I'll be giving free legal advice. If people invite me and I have the time to go, I definitely will be there. I was at a YWCA event recently. I'm going to do several other free legal advice clinics where I'll be. And find me on social media. I have a website, and I also have business cards, QR cards, whatever you need to get, codes, to get a hold of me. So I know apparently this is the era where social media is huge.
Yeah.
So we're trying to do, my team is trying to do the best to get the message out, get us known.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
And immigration is a federal law. So even though I can practice here in San Antonio, I can practice nationwide when it comes to immigration.
Mm-hmm. And Guylan, our producer, says, and you're going to advertise on the Maximo show. LOL. Dropping a quick one for us. And so Destiny also, you I know you from a lot of different spaces as well. Mm-hmm. You study pre-law. Mm-hmm. You are an office manager at a nonprofit organization. You are an entrepreneur. You are a real estate professional. You do a little bit of it all. But one of the things we talked about is, that femininity and embodying that. Mm-hmm. How do you, hold on to that and do all of these different things and perform and stay true to yourself and, you know, go through all of these things that you go through on a regular basis, the ups and downs. We talked about struggles, tragedies, triumphs. You know, how does that, you know, kind of define who you are, and how do you hold it all together, so to speak?
What's coming up for me is authenticity. You know, staying true to yourself and pouring into that, coming back to that. Even sometimes, you know, you can get lost or go off the path a little bit, get taken off, get knocked down. As you were saying, people telling you no and their struggles. But going back to the center, going back to the intuition, I think is very important, especially as women. It's so strong for us. Our intuition is so strong. And being able to listen to it and hear what it's saying, take that moment to stop. I mean, I do baños, I do prayers, I light velas all the time whenever I need to recenter and figure out, okay, what's happening right now? Because with all of that, you know, there's so much energy, right? That comes at me sometimes. And it's like, okay, what is me and what is not me? So I think that's very important, the authenticity of it all.
Yeah. And so you're pre-law. I mean, what do you want to do as you go to law school? After you get out of law school, what's your plan?
Indian law.
So what does that look like?
I'm going to help my people. You know, I feel like we need help. We don't have a lot of representation, and my gosh, what it looks like to me is a dream come true. You know, I can, right now talking about it, I can feel that my ancestors are happy that I'm even saying that, you know, because we need it. We need that kind of representation. People need help. People need resources. They need to learn. I mean, I can even see myself in environments where I am teaching and speaking and, you know, helping people find that and navigate through their trauma, because I was able to do it and I'm still doing it. You know, I think that's a lifelong journey. You're never fully healed, and the healers need healing too. Mm-hmm. And so using that and pouring it back into the community, having spaces where we can do that. And I'm also very passionate about fitness and how we can use fitness to enhance our mental health as well. So there's a lot of dynamics. A lot of
mental
layers.
Health is a topic we talk about a lot on this show and at this table, because we don't talk about it enough in our communities. We don't talk about wellness enough in our communities, and wellness looks like a lot of different things, but one is about loving and respecting each other. Mm-hmm. You know, it's something we need more of. We need to normalize that sort of talk. You know, Carmen, for you, you know, you poured a lot of your heart into these books, and you're a world-renowned writer. I saw that you performed in Norway, was it?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And who would have thought that you would have, these words and these books would have taken you to, I mean, where is Norway? I mean, my gosh.
My works have been translated into English and Spanish, even though I write in both. They'll take an English thing and translate it to Spanish, and Spanish and translate it to English. But they've been translated into English, Spanish, French, German, and Bengali.
Wow.
Which is the Bengal area of India. So what I write for, the reason I write, is to empower people. We have too many people whose voices have been silenced. We have children whose voices are still being silenced. With writing, I think writers try to revolutionize the world. They try and make people notice things and feel things and respect things that they haven't, respect people, and quit stereotyping people. Because right now, we stereotype people for their color, for their body shape, for their gender preferences, for who they love. I mean, we shouldn't be punishing people for who they love. My brother-in-law, the great late Father Eddie Bernal, used to say, God doesn't care who you love. God cares who you hate. That's what we should be punishing. Mm-hmm. That's what we should be after. But we have so many prejudices, so many stereotypes, and silencing of human beings' magic that I try and put that back into the books, whether I'm writing for adults or for children. And I think I write for children nowadays probably more than half the time. More than half of what I write is for children. And like I have a lot of things that have been written for a while that are all kind of coming out at once. So in the last 14 months or so, I have put out 2 children's picture books and a coffee table book about the cultural history of San Antonio as seen through the art. And then next year, I'll have a novel in verse out for middle grade, like 10 to 14-year-olds, about a young girl who lives on the west side of San Antonio and is very much a guerrera. She's fighting for social justice. Her father gets deported the night before 7th grade, and all her excitement about the new year just kind of slumps into this pain at being separated from this father that has been so strong and protective of her. And she decides that she is going to be a warrior for the good.
Yeah.
And it's called Warrior Girl. You know, it's a journal of a guerrera. And her grandma becomes one of her inspirations in that, helping her and supporting her in this time period. But I think human beings need to remember the values that Mexicanos and indigenous peoples have, these beautiful values, very, very supportive, loving, inclusive values. We bring everybody into our family. You know, it doesn't matter if you're a third step cousin-in-law, es mi primo, you know, somebody has your same name, oh, es mi tocayo, you know, somebody starts to hang out with the family, we make them a compadre or comadre, you know, ay, compadre. It's a co-parent. That's a very powerful role.
Yeah.
A compadre or comadre doesn't just mean my good buddy. It means you're helping me parent my own kids. So all of these beautiful values, they express something very magical and very spiritual and very respectful, el respeto. And so books like The Last Butterfly, which came out last summer from Flower Song Press, a small little press in the Valley, and my co-author and I, Regina Moya, we said this thing has to come out now. We can't wait till it goes through a year of, you know, agents and editors and all this. I work through agents and editors, and that's fine. But in this instance, this book was about the environment, but it was more than that. It was about respecting every creature. And I think about the viejitas who taught, you know, who said things like, cada criatura en este mundo tiene voz, virtud, e idioma. Everything, whether it's a tree, whether it's a butterfly, whether it's a planet, you know, deserves respect. And so in this book, I kind of, I tell the story of a little butterfly that travels down to the santuario, and the santuario is no longer this lush forest. It's been deforested, and it's getting smaller and smaller, and she's worried that she may be the last butterfly to arrive there. And it's a little boy who lives near the santuario that Regina and I chose to be the character who would be the one who said, you know, I want to help. I love the butterflies. I want to help the planet. I want to help the trees. But I can't do anything. I'm just a child. All I know how to do is to think, to dream, and to play. And in the book, we help the children understand that that's human beings' special superpower. It's to think and to dream and to play. Because when you're playing, you're creative. You come up with solutions. And so this is how we send the message to kids. You are magic. You have magic inside you. That magic is your love and your respeto for your environment. It makes us connected to everything. And it ends the isolation, the loneliness, the frustration that kids have these days that are leading to so many mental health problems. You know, you're connected. And that's just a reflection of our families. You're connected. You hang out with my kid, pretty soon we're calling you mijito. It only takes the lady at the grocery store 2 seconds with a stranger before she says, "Sí, mija, just give me this bill and I'll give you back the change from this, and you can use your food stamps on it too, no importa." You know, that's what we are about. It's bringing people in, and they become family, and family is more about a lifetime commitment to caring about that person. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about our culture.
Yeah. Of the so many other beautiful things amongst the myriad of the, whatever you would call it, a panoply of different people and stories and spiritualities, right? I mean, you're touching on so many things, and gosh, listen, we're having a great show. I didn't realize how much everyone would vibe with each other when we brought everyone to the table tonight, but people are loving the show. We're having listeners chime in. We've got Wando Morales saying he's listening on his commute from Austin. Hey, I hope you're not stuck in traffic on 35 because traffic is getting bad. We've got Santos chiming in again. He says, loving the show, amazing panel. Looking forward to hearing Dr. Tafoya at Palo Alto College for our Latinx Heritage festivities, which is in 2 nights. Everyone
It's
is
tomorrow.
Is it tomorrow?
Wait a minute. What today is today? No, it is. Okay, it's Thursday.
All the
You're
days
right.
run
It is
together.
the calendar. Sorry.
You know, but
It's tomorrow.
But you know, one of the things I talked about with us being together is this butterfly, and
Yeah.
Destiny does a dance, a spiritual performance called the butterfly dance. Do you want to speak on that?
Sure. And I was actually thinking about that too as you were showing the book and sharing the story of it too, because the dance that I perform is called the Butterfly Legend, and it tells the story of how this butterfly went through a metamorphosis. And it's in the powwow circles known as fancy shawl dancing. It's with the shawl, and it is actually a representation of feminism as well, because women weren't allowed to be fancy dancers. They weren't allowed in powwow circles to do this style of dance until about like the 1800s. There was a few women who said, "You're gonna tell me no?"
Yeah.
You're gonna tell me no? And you know, this dance bloomed in such a way like a butterfly too. And so yeah, I have a few performances coming up that I'm very excited about too, and I choreographed a piece to a poem that was the story of the butterfly legend. It's a Shoshone butterfly legend, and it's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful story. So as you were talking about this book, it took me there too, the mariposa and the monarch, and it's beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, and Destiny's a skilled performer. We're going to have her on the show in 2 weeks performing right here for everyone to see another original piece. And so we have so much creative energy and so many powerful, you know, just perspectives on life and what we deserve and our future generation. So, you know, as we're getting ready to wrap up the show, I want to just throw out some words or some topics and hear some quick takes from everyone. Okay, so we'll start here and go around. Let's talk about women in leadership.
Women and leadership. Wow. I would not be here today if it wasn't for women leaders that took me under their wing, mentored me, challenged me, and told me when I was wrong. And so that for me is, if we can pass that on, and women in our community and our familias are leaders. I mean, they are head of households, ellas mandan. Crían a los hijos, saben lo que está pasando, ¿no? En el mundo, sienten the intuition that you were talking about, Destiny, is so real if you listen to it. And so women leadership, I mean, it has gotten me to where I'm at. And I cannot wait to be able to pass that on to younger Chicanas, Latinas, Native girls, whatever we want to be, right? As long as we're doing it consciously and we're learning about it and we know where that comes from, so.
Let's go here. Women in leadership.
Women have been denigrated for so long, made fun of, and just kept silent. But the truth is that women leaders have always been there, and they've been behind the men, giving them their ideas because they won't let them say
You
it.
ain't wrong.
You know, so they had to go through some other route. And if you go to the top inventors and even some of the top writers, you find that there's a woman in there giving them the ideas, telling them what to do, taking their notes, you know, the sister of Thomas Edison, or the, you know, all of these inventors. We have to recognize that the women have always been there. They have as much power as men. They have the diversity of perspective that is required, because when you only do things from one perspective, you don't have as powerful a work team. When you have people with different ideas, the more diversity you have on a work team, the more efficient and effective that group is going to be, the more ideas they're going to come up with. So the same thing goes for gender. When you have a diversity of perspective, leadership just becomes more capable and more kind. And I think it's high time that we start incorporating female leadership into the top slots in every field. And to this day, we're still not there.
We're still not there.
No, we're not, unfortunately.
So go ahead.
We're getting there, though. The future is women, I believe. And I think there's also a stigma, right, with stay-at-home moms who don't necessarily have a job in the professional field. But being a mother has to be one of the most important things in life, because you're bringing life into this world. You are raising the next generation. And I just I think that's undervalued. I think people take that for granted. And that is leadership. Raising children is leadership, and bringing it in to the home. And it's always, in the 50s, there was the man brings home the bacon and the woman stays at home with the children, and the men were praised for that, right? But what about everything the woman does at home? Yes. That's like 3 jobs right there.
Unpaid labor.
3 jobs at home.
Exactly. Then you got to deal with the man too, degrading
Yes.
Hello. So yeah, I think women leaders is also in motherhood, and sometimes that's not correlated.
Yes.
So, and I think of my mom. I think of my mom a lot. She's an independent woman. She was a single mom. It was just her and I. She also unfortunately experienced domestic violence, and those were things that I witnessed too. And I went through that as well. So there are cycles that we are breaking and coming loose from. So I think that is important.
Matriarchs are
Yes, matriarchs.
Absolutely. And down with the patriarchy as well. I can say that. I hope you're saying that wherever you were at. Listen, so much to talk about. We couldn't cover everything in 60 minutes, but we're going to give everyone the last 30 seconds to go. So, Ofelia, we're going to give 30 seconds. Give your shout outs, your goodbyes, anything you want to add. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Maximo, for inviting me here. I really appreciate it. I'm so happy to have met Destiny. I'm so happy to be with this icon, Carmen Tafallo, to my left. I love you. I love what you've contributed to our movement, to our culture, to our leadership. I truly appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you.
I just have to say, get out there and read, get out there and vote,
Yes.
get out there and enjoy your culture. We have so many things going on, not just in this city, but throughout the nation that reflect our culture. We have a chance to go see dancers and performers and theatrical performances and book festivals and, throw yourself into life. There are so many people that were not allowed to read a book, that were not allowed to learn to read, that were not allowed to speak up or to choose what they were going to do. Make use of what's there, and especially vote.
Yes.
I don't care if you make a mistake, because people say, well, maybe I'm going to make a mistake and I'll vote for the wrong person, then I'll feel bad. I said, the mere fact that you vote means that they realize we've got some power. Even if you make 10 mistakes in a row, which I hope you don't. But if you do, they're going to be a little bit hesitant. Right now, our percentages are so low, I cry when I look at them. I mean, in some parts of the country, it's like 6% of the population of a city is voting. And if that's what's happening, we're going to lose our right to make the culture and the life and the destiny that we want.
Yes. And I just want to add, other than voting, we need to learn about gerrymandering.
Yes.
And the laws, the laws that are keeping us, and no
Yes.
matter if we vote, we're outnumbered, right? So please learn about that. Sorry.
You got the last bit.
I just want to say, strong women, may we know them, may we be them, may we raise them. Tamok.
Hey, love it. Love it. Thank you so much. Last day to register to vote in Texas, folks, is Tuesday, October 11th, and that's 1 week from today. So make sure that you're getting out there to register. Make sure that you're subscribing, because we're going to be right here next week, Tuesday, October 11th, with another banger show. Thank you so much, folks. Guylan, take it home. We love y'all.